Hi, my name is Mariah Browning, and I am currently enrolled in the MAT Pre-K through 4 program at Marywood University. Today, I will be talking about my Jumpstart lesson for Education 561, in which I will be presenting a Jumpstart lesson for an English language learner. My English language learner that I created is named Hoi, and he is from Vietnam. He recently moved here about 6 months ago, and his family consists of his mother, his father, his baby sister, himself, and he has 2 sets of grandparents who still live in Vietnam, who his parents are working very hard to earn money to send for them, to come live with them. So the lesson that I chose to base my Jumpstart lesson off of is about buoyancy. So I'd be talking with my 3rd graders about buoyancy and what determines buoyancy. You know, we would look deeper into the density of an object determines whether or not it will sink or float. So we can examine a penny and we can say, based off of, we know that pennies sink because think about all of the fountains that you see the pennies in. We know that it is a very dense object. Its molecules are very close together, therefore it will sink. However, if we look at a marshmallow, for example, its molecules are very far apart. It's not very dense at all, so we can probably make an educated guess, hypotheses that it will float. So this lesson was great because I think, you know, any hands-on science is really good for kids, and anything that they get to put that little scientist hat on and explore is really great for them. They'll be able to use the scientific method and make hypotheses on whether or not they think an object will float. So after I introduced the topic, I would split them into groups and give them a bucket of water as well as a bucket of supplies. It would be objects, anything I can think of from home or at the school, crayons, you know, pennies, marshmallows, any other food objects, bouncy balls, anything I could think of, and encourage them to, you know, use their science logs that I would give them to make a hypothesis of whether or not X object will sink or float. So I would let them do that, and then they would compare results and see, you know, did I guess right? Was my hypothesis right or not? And why did I think that? Why did I think that a basketball would sink, but actually it ended up floating? So for Hoi, I think that he would know about this topic because he is in 3rd grade, he's 8 years old, and he has had some life experiences. I think if he was younger, he might struggle with the concept, but I would bet that Hoi knows, you know, what sinking or floating is. It's just a matter of getting it to translate in his mind and teach him the words sink, float, and, you know, I would introduce buoyancy and density, but those are bigger, harder words. And I wouldn't stress those too much as long as he knew and mastered sink or float. So I would sit Hoi down with myself and any other students I'm working individually with and do this lesson about a day or 2 before the actual lesson. So I would show him a YouTube video in which they drop objects, and a video is really great because you can pause it and talk about it and then play it. So I could pause it right before they put the object in and say, do you think it's going to sink or float? And, you know, have him do the motions with me. Do we think it's going to go to the bottom, to the floor of the water, or to the very top? And, you know, I would use hand motions, water, up, down for sink or float, and kind of have him copy and mimic my motions. I think that that is something that can really hone it home for him. So then I would have him watch a video with me and we would make our hypotheses, and I would have him say sink or float and make sure that he's using that language as well. And then after we have watched it once through, I would introduce cue cards to him. These cue cards are very, very simple. It's just 2 of them. One says sink and has an object that is at the very bottom of the sea floor, such as an anchor or a penny. And the other one says float, and it would have, you know, a swimmy or a buoy on top, and it would show floating. So, you know, if Hoy doesn't know FLOAT spells float or SINK spells sink, then he can look at the picture and recall what that means to him. So then I would play the video again or do another one so that it wasn't just based off of memory. And I would have him hold up the cards of what he thinks is going to happen. So this time I'm doing basically the same thing, but I'm just scaffolding in a different way. I've put the responsibility a little bit more on Hoy to tell me whether or not he thinks it will sink or float. So I believe that this lesson will really help him, you know, remember these key features of, you know, sinking means something is going to the bottom, and we can use our hand motions for the bottom or the top, and visually seeing it will help him remember what types of objects, you know, if something's very heavy, I can hold something in my hand and say, oh, this is heavy. Do we think this will sink or float? Or, oh, this is very light, and the motion of my hands can help him identify, oh, that's very light, it's going to float or sink. So overall, I think that this would be a great lesson to introduce Hoy to this topic, and then he could definitely use those cue cards when he completes the activity with his classmates at the next time of the lesson. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much.